Hello, thank you guys for tuning in and getting ready to watch the video. So I want to do a quick little introduction. So I work with Rachelle, who's a client of mine, and we actually wanted to show her training for legs and glutes, specifically hamstrings and glutes. And we thought it would be really fun to show everybody kind of the aspects that go into her training and how we structure her training to not have the common mistakes that most people have and get her the best results with the most efficient effort. So thank you for tuning in to the video. Hopefully you really enjoy it and you like it. And if you do, please give us feedback and let us know what you think, and then we'll try to do more of these in the future. So thank you for clicking play. Thank you for starting the video, and hopefully you enjoy everything that you see here. So don't worry, I'll edit all this part.
Edit.
Okay, so we both do this. Okay, there we go. Yeah, you look sweaty.
I'm very sweaty.
Okay.
Got some work in.
Yes. Okay, so thank you guys for watching the whole video. Okay, so here's the first part of the workout where we're actually warming her body up in the sense of getting like movement preparation. So we're using the foam roller and we're actually rolling on the inside of her leg. So Rachelle has some problems or some issues with a tight sacrum. So her glute muscles, keep doing that, I'm going to walk over here. So this is our muscle man chart. So her glute muscle is right here. That muscle tends to argue over the sacrum on both sides of her. So this is like the superficial outside muscles, these are the deep down ones. So this muscle argues and pulls her like tailbone out of place sometimes. And what can counter that muscle is if her adductor is super tight, that muscle has to be tight in response. So by us foam rolling this, it kind of gives a pressure release to allow her adductor to relax. And the idea or the theory of this is if her adductors are tight, when you kind of like if you go into a grocery store and you want to open a plastic bag, you would have to pinch the bag and then rub it, and that creates friction to separate the layers. So she's putting pressure on there, and then by going up and down, it's separating the layers. She's furthering the effect by extending her leg and changing position. So I think that's about a minute. You can switch sides if you want. So we go through and do both sides, and this type of movement prep is specific for her, so we don't do the same thing for everybody. We just found that this is something that when we do this before our workout, she tends to feel that she can get a more neutral, balanced hip position during our squats and deadlifts and other movements, and she doesn't feel as hard of a tug on that lower back area. So this would just be a cool example of some kind of movement prep, and we'll include links for all this in like a more general program where you can do a bunch of these and find out which ones you like most. But this is to show you what we started with. Okay, so this is kind of what we went to right after the foam rolling. Is we have the abduction, abduction, and then we have adduction over here. So what these do is they work, this one specifically works your outer quad a little bit, but you can see she's sitting very upright, which is the correct way to do this, so that way you maximize the glute involvement. If you lay back on the seat, that actually works too much of the outer quad. So sitting upright, and she actually has her butt over the pivot points, so right wherever the heck my finger is, right there is the pivot point. So her hips are right above that, and that's going to make sure that we get more glute and less in the thigh. So this helps, we said about that small little muscle in there that's tight on her. This is getting that muscle to start to open up and move a little bit. And then this one, we're doing adduction. So this is going to work her adductors. So in our foam roller warm-up, we kind of loosened them. Now we're using this exercise to pump blood into them. And what that's going to do is it's going to make them more pliable and stretchable during our workout. So both of these are going to allow her to release tight muscles that are on the inside, activate and open up the kind of weaker tight muscle on the outside. So when we go into our squats and deadlifts, her hips will actually feel equal. So I talk to people all the time about the muscles that go into a joint. It's almost like the strings of a puppet. Is if all the muscles going into a joint are uneven in tightness, that's like if you took puppet strings and tied some of them in a knot, the puppet's going to move crooked. So doing these type of warm-ups helps us even out all the strings, quote unquote, to the joint, and now when she moves in our main movements, her joint will move equally and evenly. So right now we're having her do sets of 20 on this. We typically do one set of 20 pretty light, where it just kind of helps her warm up and get moving. And then we start getting heavier and heavier. and we most often do about 3 rounds. Now we're going into our 45-degree hyperextension, and what we're focusing on here is a good hamstring stretch followed by a glute squeeze. You can see she's doing a good job of pushing her belly down towards the floor, and that's keeping her back nice and loose and keeping her back flat. So while she's doing this motion, all of the rotation is actually coming from the hip, not from the back extension or contraction. So she's going to get done with this motion and not have to feel any painful back bump. Her hamstrings will actually be opened up, which again is one of the common tight strings to the puppet of your hips, and then it's going to activate her glutes. So most often throughout the day, people spend the day with their hamstrings tight and their glutes inactive. This is reversing that. So this is waking up the glutes and stretching open the hamstrings. So this whole circuit allows us to get the puppet strings to her hips all equaled out and balanced, so when we go into our squats and deadlifts, she can move healthy and not have any strains in her lower back or in her knees. Cool? Yeah, like I'll tell you when to go again. Yeah. Okay, so here we are, just doing some conventional deadlifts, so elevated. So what this does is that little bit of elevation is going to shorten the amount of leg drive, which is from the quads. So now as soon as she comes off these blocks, you'll see here the weight's coming off the block, it makes the range of motion much shorter, so that way it's focused just into the hamstrings and glutes. She's going to breathe a little bit. So the idea of this, like what we're using our deadlift for tonight, is to grow her hamstrings and glutes. If we deadlift from the floor with a conventional stance, that involves too much quads, and usually whenever your hamstrings and glutes would start to take over in the middle of the lift, there's so much momentum going from the drive off the floor that you don't get maximal usage. Let's go ahead and go for another 3 when you're ready. So you'll see here is this is creating a dead start position. She doesn't get momentum, it just basically loads right into her hamstrings and glutes. She's keeping her back flat, and her glutes are driving towards the bar. So the bar is coming up and her butt is coming into the bar. Good. So we'll take a little breather. So what we want to make sure when we're doing this, to make sure we're maximizing our glute involvement, is to make sure we don't over-involve the lower back. And then she's doing a really good job of keeping her abs braced as well. So that elevation gets rid of the quads, but keeps our hamstrings and glutes to focus. And then we're doing sets of 3 just to kind of make it easy to show you guys. And then we'll show you like our whole circuit when we first combine this. Go ahead and go again. When we combine this with the other exercise. So again, the back is staying flat. As she comes up, she just brings her butt to the bar. Back stays flat. She comes up and butt to the bar. You do not want to try to pull the bar up from the knees through the lower back. That's where most people make mistakes. So we'll go take a little breathing. We'll try one more set. So most people, they'll push or kind of like do something to get the bar to their knees, and then they'll think of kind of pulling the bar the rest of the way to the top by through their lower back. So rather than, if this is her shoulder, rather than her butt coming to the bar, they kind of continue to try to pull back, and that over involves the lower back. You're going to get lower back pain. You're also going to miss your lockouts on deadlifts. Go ahead and go again when you're ready. So this is showing that if she keeps the back flat and she makes her butt go to the bar, again, that's going to make it where it's all hamstrings and glutes and very little lower back. The lower back is just bracing. It's not actually contracting. Excellent job. Cool. Okay, so what we're doing here is we're doing box squats on our belt squat. So you can see we have weights in a band here, and I'll explain some of that in a second. And then what she's doing is she's focusing on a nice wide stance. So you can see the feet there are nice and wide. Okay? And then she's sitting back and then driving her hips forward. So again, she's sitting back, driving the hips forward. So our cue is it's almost like she's going down to start a sumo deadlift. So at the bottom, you can see her forearms are matching up with her knees. That's a perfect position, and this is making sure that we're stretching her hamstrings and her glutes. And again, with the cool part of the belt squat is the weight is on her waist like that through that belt. It's not a spinal load, and we don't have to worry about the lower back contracting too much. So the lower back still gets involved in the sense of bracing. So you might still have some stress in the lower back, but it's not compressive stress or flexional stress. It's just bracing stress. So she did 10 reps, and then she'll make her way over to the deadlift bar. So I'll kind of walk over here as she's coming over. And then again, what we're focusing on here is she is the higher reps of the belt squat, 10 reps. Yeah, face this way. And then this is going to be our quote-unquote heavier work, so she's doing 3 reps. And again, the goal is to keep the bar close to her. She's going to push a little bit with the legs and then bring her butt to the bar. So again, she's not trying to contract her lower back. The butt comes to the bar, not her trying to lift like that. Excellent job. So, she did very good. Now there's a little bit of fatigue showing up, is her lower back, instead of being like this, it actually tucked a bit on that last one. And this is something that we commonly work on, right? Yeah. So we want to have that where we make sure we maintain. Most people overarch like this way, so I can't even bend my hand that way. So, but they scoop like this. So when she gets tired and when that muscle, that glute muscle in there, stops trying to work, her butt will actually tuck under her. So we'll watch that in the next one we fix that by taking her belly and trying to shove her belly into the ground. So instead of her tucking, she shoves her butt belly towards the bar. And that'll give her a flatter position. Yes, good, go ahead and do 2 more like that. So she's gonna push her belly into the floor, that flattens out her back. And again, she's still focusing on squeezing through here. Ooh, that was a good one, there you go. So let's give you a breather, then we'll come back for the belt squat. So what's cool about this is when we know her individual weaknesses, like her individual tendencies, it allows us to find the ways to fix that, correct that. So what's cool is when we're in person, I can tell her that instead of like most people's commands and most things you would see online, is they're going to talk about the dangers of overarching. So for her, she actually needs to actually almost feel like she's forcing herself into an overarch to make sure she doesn't round. So sometimes cues can be dangerous if they aren't specific for you. So for her, she has to shove her belly to the floor and actually create that almost feeling of overarching. Cool, go ahead and jump into the belt squat and we'll show them some more of that. So let's switch gears mentally, and what we're doing here is on the deadlift we have a narrow stance. That's going to make sure we're working our glutes and hamstrings, but it doesn't work the hips much. This one with a wider stance, it works into those smaller glute muscles. So that way we're actually stretching and strengthening that weaker one that argues over the sacrum. So the banded here, this feature allows, as she stands up, normally squats become easier as your joints related would come straighter. So you can see at the top her knees are straightening out, her hip is straightening out. So that would be when it's easiest, is the joints are in line. So the band, as she comes up and the joints actually line up, that actually adds resistance. So it's just like any rubber band, as you stretch it, it becomes harder. So we have the plate weight back there, and then we have the band resistance. So the plate weight adds universal, like normal weight throughout the entire motion, and the band just adds it at the top. So that's going to be really cool for us to get that additional stress specific to the range of motion or the arc of the strength throughout this exercise. So she did a good job getting her 10 in. So that represents kind of our medium bodybuilder kind of muscle damaging work. And then the deadlift is our heavier work. So this is strength-based stuff with the deadlift, to where it's almost physical therapy in a sense, to where a lot of times people move in properly because they're just freaking weak. So we have to strengthen the muscles. So no rush, but whenever you're ready. No rush, but whenever you're ready. So most people, when they move incorrectly or they're positioned incorrectly, it has to do with muscular tightnesses, but often those tightnesses are due to weakness. So, or inactivity or blah, blah, blah. So by getting somebody stronger, so again, she's going to maintain that flat back. She's going to push through the legs and then squeeze her butt to the bar. So by getting someone stronger, it'll correct a lot of those movement faults. So too often people focus a lot on stretching and they don't pay attention enough to strengthening. So this is our circuit, our main heavy circuit for the day. So this would be our strength movement. This is our heavy kind of bodybuilder-ish type movement. Both of them are for the hamstrings and glutes. There's going to be a little bit of quad involvement on this and a little bit of quad involvement on that, but it's still mostly hamstrings and glutes because most people are quad dominant. So this is balancing out that build. And then also having a wide stance in this one, a wide stance, helps work the hips. And then this one takes the hips away, but it gives us a nice heavy overload. So she's doing 135 pounds there. We've done a bunch of sets. And she could do more if we wanted to, but this is a nice safe weight for her. It's challenging, but she can keep her back straight. This one we're doing a 25-pound plate plus whatever the heck the band is, and we're doing sets of 10. So that's going to be a little bit lighter, but again, that's appropriate for the difficulty of the wide feet, which gets into the hip. And if we know we have that weakness in her glute muscle, we don't want to overload this one too much because that'll promote that argument over the sacrum, and that can run the risk of throwing out her lower back. So this is the main circuit. We'll go through a couple more sets for her, and then we'll show you guys our finishing stuff. Okay, so what we're doing here, if you can see this all, is we're doing sled walks, and we're doing them specific to having a neutral hip positioning. So we already went through the coaching of this, but when some people, our natural stance is they're going to be curved in their back. So their butt will kind of be sticking back. Some people stand tucked. We know that since she's having issues with that inner glute muscle being weak, we're holding her neutral position here. She's paying attention with her fingers to feel her psoas and lower ab muscles flexing and holding, so that way her hips don't arch back behind her, and then she turns off her glutes and turns on her quads. So good there, we'll turn around. So what this is doing, walking this specific way, is a bunch of small glute contractions. So this positioning, again, a neutral hip position. She has her toes flared a little bit to make sure she can feel her glutes contracting, and she's paying attention to her psoas. This is going to make sure that she doesn't use her quads too much, and she's focusing on small little glute flexes over and over again. So we have the sled loaded with only 25 pounds. It's not actually that heavy, but if this gets too heavy, her hip tilt will change, and she'll over-involve her quads. So this is actually just a really high amount of repetitions of glute squeezes. It also serves as our cardio for the day. So this is like muscle cardio. So it's cardio, but you're using your muscles. And this helps us promote growth and strength in certain areas. Good job. We'll kind of, you can bring the belt around, then try to drop out of the belt. So doing muscle cardio allows you to get the cardio that you want, so for fat loss and caloric burning, but it makes sure you still address muscular issues. So you're getting kind of more bang for your buck. Now what we're doing here, I'll see if I can get in this. So is she's doing 8 reps of each. She's going to do an stiff leg deadlift, sorry. There we go, I can kind of see now. So she's getting where her knees are some bend for sure. A stiff leg deadlift means that she's just getting most of her bend from a hip joint and minimal bend from the knee. You definitely 100% do not want your knees locked out when you're doing stiff leg deadlifts. So they are stiff leg, not straight leg. So this you can see is a really good stretch in the hamstring. After she gets 8 of those, she's going to go into an RDL, which is a Romanian deadlift. That changes the emphasis to mostly glutes. So knees, knuckles to knees, right there and right back up. So, and then she's squeezing her lower glute. So the first one, stiff leg deadlifts, is a lot of hamstring, a little bit of butt. Romanian deadlifts is a lot of butt with a little bit of hamstring. So this is allowing her to attack both muscles and kind of get more time and attention on both of them than just one of the exercises done separately. This is also allowing us to just get more and more glute and hamstring work. Cool. So she's doing 8 and 8, and then she'll kind of sit those down and breathe. And then we're going to give her about 30 seconds before I kill her and make her do another round. But what we're doing here, you can see this is just fun of getting to enjoy Mother Nature. So get out in the sun and then good warm weather. So this serves as, in our first part, we did our foam rolling to kind of movement prep. We did the abductor, adductor, and 45 hyper as also movement prep, but also getting warm-up, muscular warm-up. And it also addressed some weaknesses for us. Then we went to the strength stuff. You can start whenever you're ready. We went to the strength stuff and the heavy bodybuilder work. So that way we get muscle manipulation. So the belt squat being at 10 reps would have been enough time and retention to where it would have caused muscular stress to get the muscle to be damaged. And then if she eats more food when she goes home and has a caloric surplus, the muscles would grow. If at home she doesn't eat enough food and she has maintenance level calories or actually a caloric deficit, her muscles won't grow, but they'll grow to get, they will heal in a tighter, more firm manner. So when you touch somebody who trains often, their muscle tissue is kind of denser and their skin feels denser. And that is from just the muscle damage healing over time to create kind of like, some personal trainers are going to cringe when I say this word, but a toned physique. So, but that is the idea of toning, is that it creates some tension, muscular tension and tightness to the person, even if they're not getting larger. So, whether you grow from this exercise or not actually has all to do with your food. So we've provided enough muscular stress and stimulus to promote growth if the extra calories are available for growth. And again, this particular part allows us to get some cardio involved. So she's going to get out of breath. How I'm getting out of breath, just following her around. So that's going to get her out of breath burn some calories, help with weight control, and maybe if she has caloric fluctuations throughout the day, this helps burn up any unnecessary excess. So she's doing good. She's almost dying. Good job. So we'll bring that around, then we'll go back into the dumbbells. So we're going to end up doing this for about 3 to 4 rounds with no real rest in between. So it's kind of a low-level cardio the whole time. So again, this is our stiff leg deadlifts. So she's maintaining a good flat back. We talked inside about that belly button forward for her. She needs to feel like she's almost arching super hard to stay flat. That's getting us all the stretch here, not getting a roundedness of her lower back, which would make her back hurt. Get like that pump feeling in your lower back. So she's keeping the stress in the hamstrings and glutes. She's going to do stiff leg deadlifts, and then she'll go into RDLs, Romanian deadlifts, whenever she's ready. So we're just picking 8 and 8 because I like the number for her, because if we do any higher reps, she can't get a heavy enough weight to actually cause muscular stress. If we do too high of a weight, then we can't get enough reps. So this is kind of like a sweet spot to where it's heavy enough to feel challenging, but not so heavy we're getting hurt, and not so light that it's not even worth doing. So this is going to get her a really, really, really good stimulus. And then these combine to give us kind of like our muscular finish to the workout. So we're going to let her finish up here. So we're going to go through and hit one more round, and then we'll show you guys what we do at the end of the workout to kind of make sure the muscles are all reset. So those puppet strings we talked about at the beginning, we want to make sure when she goes home, those puppet strings are all evened out, so she heals in the most neutral position possible, and then we have less movement issues when we come in to start the next workout. Okay, so we're going to finish up, and then we'll show you that part. Okay, so now I'll address the camera. Hello, camera. So what we're doing here is we're resetting her puppet strings, like we said. So throughout the workout, and especially with that combination of the sled work and the stiff leg deadlifts or Romanian deadlifts, her hamstrings would have gotten really tight. So what I have here is I have a weighted pipe, basically. So this has plates on the inside. I'll show you guys a video here in a second of it. But this is probably around like 60 to 70 pounds, somewhere in that range. And what it's doing is almost like massage therapy. So I'm rolling this up and down like you would need, like, kind of like how you knead dough, like to make bread or something. This is just kind of creating that peeling effect, a part of the muscle tissues. So we're squishing blood in and out to help the muscles relax. We're peeling apart any areas where the muscles might have stuck together due to some muscle damage. And then also by pushing the fluid out, when the body pushes fluid back in, it rehydrates the muscle, and it helps bring more like protein and healing nutrients and stuff in. It helps push out any kind of damage material, so like lactic acid, anything that would have accumulated due to muscular stress. So this is going to help with all of that. So recovery within the muscle cells, and then recovery within tightness of this muscle. So this is something to where, like, again, like we all probably are aware of the benefits of massage therapy and how you can get that done, and that alleviates like a tight, like stressful traps, or maybe stressful like low back. So this is massage therapy just done cheaper and faster, in the sense of I'm covering more surface tissue than I could with my hands in the same amount of time. And since we don't need pinpointed massage, we just need the hamstrings in general to be massaged, this general approach to surface area works well. So if she had a specific strain or 1 or 2 fibers that were giving her the most problems, we'd have to use our hands or a tool or get down in there if it's a specific problem. So we do this for roughly about 2 minutes, depends on the person. Some people need a little longer, depends on how tight their tissues are. So again, this just kind of pushes that fluid out and opens up any tight tissues. So what we'll do is we'll cut the video, then I'll show you our next treatment we go into, which is for the adductors, and then she's good to go home from there. Cool. Okay, so now is the next part. So this is our shorter roller, and you can see there's weights in there with a clip to hold it in place. So this one, when loaded, can be up to 40 pounds. And what we're going to do is we're placing it on the adductors, and we're starting in the meatiest spot of the leg. So hopefully you don't mind me explaining to you as meaty. So, but that's safest and it feels the most comfortable to start there. And then just like the hamstring, we're massaging up and down. And now I would use my hands and my thumb to find where her kind of bony connective spots are. and we want to stay off that. We want to stay just in tissue, and her knee is slightly bent. If she locks her leg, that creates too much stiffness in the muscle. It's going to feel uncomfortable, so she has to stay relaxed. So we're going to massage all the way down to this part. She's not going to like some of this, but it helps loosen up that tissue. So like we said, the benefit of this type of treatment, and what we're doing now when you do it in a normal sequence, takes about, let's see, probably like 2 to 3 plus 2 and 2. So it takes 7-8 minutes maybe. So you can save the last 10 minutes of your workout and do this. And what it does is it resets those puppet strings, resets the muscles around the joints. So what we're doing right now is treatment specifically to the hip and knee joint. And now when she goes home and kind of like recovers between workouts, she doesn't have as much stress and pull on the joints because the muscles aren't tightening back up unevenly. So this is going to reduce inflammation stress in the joints between our workouts, which is a really good idea for anybody with arthritic issues. So to reduce inflammation. And then also the next time she comes in, she won't have to go through as deep or as many things in her movement preparation to get her ready. So if you notice for her, we just had to do foam rolling of her abductor. That was it. So that's the idea, is we keep her healthy enough that we don't have to do, 15, 20-minute routine to get her ready for a 30, 40-minute workout. So this will be the last thing we do. Let me fix the camera. So if you want to flop over to the other side. Oh, okay, so that's the last thing we'll do. We'll go through her other leg. And then this shows you her whole workout. So hopefully you guys found this helpful. I want to try to do more of these if we can. So I'll finish up with her, and then we'll see if we maybe do a little bit of a summary at the end. Cool. So don't worry, I'll edit all this part.
Edit.
Okay, so we go through this. Okay, there we go. Yeah, you look sweaty.
I'm very sweaty.
Okay.
Got some work in.
Yes. Okay, so thank you guys for watching the whole video. So this is her face actually, so we haven't been showing her face the whole time. And what we want to talk about, I'm forcing her to do this, is kind of common mistakes that we think most women make when they're trying to not even just get big legs, but just get better shape, better condition. And the first thing we most commonly see is when they weight train, they do everything too light and about 1 million reps. So, and that's what your background was, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
I have worked with trainers in the past. I've done some online training programs, and they all seem to be about the same. I would spend an hour and a half to 2 hours in the gym, doing tons of cardio on cardio equipment, and then doing like 1 million sets of 50 of lighter weight stuff, and it just never got me the results I wanted.
Yeah, and also that leads to not being able to eat a lot of food because you're not getting any real muscle damage. So the body doesn't, like its metabolism and the recovery process between workouts doesn't require very many calories. So therefore you can't eat many. You feel like if I eat anything I get fat.
Right.
Even though I'm in the gym 2 hours a day.
Yes.
Yeah. So these workouts, the way we're doing them now with like heavy structured stuff, they take about an hour, and that even includes a little bit of upper body work. And also the benefit of keeping heavier weight, which boosts your metabolism, it also makes you freaking out of breath while you're doing this stuff.
Yes.
So we don't do a lot of cardio. So how many minutes have we spent together with you on a treadmill?
0 minutes.
Yeah, 0 minutes. So yes, and we've been training together for over a year.
Over a year.
Yeah. So we don't do any traditional cardio. We do stuff like you saw in the video with the sled stuff, and then also we time our rest periods. So tonight was a luxury for her because we actually went through some teaching aspects between the videos, and we're just having kind of more relaxed pace. So the workout took about an hour and a half actually, which is still less than we used to do, and we got a ton of volume in. But usually our pacing keeps it fast enough that you don't need a lot of cardio. Whether you're lifting weights or on a treadmill, both use calories. The benefit of doing stuff that involves muscle tissue damage is now you need more calories to fix that muscle tissue damage. So once you're done with the treadmill and you step off a treadmill, there's no more benefit. Once you get done lifting weights, your body has to deal with all that and fix that. So we have the process. The one mistake you'll make is not lifting heavy enough. So you have to be safe, you have to rotate. Then you have to do, people do too much cardio, so we don't do that. And then the other aspect, I think, we were trying to think of this before we turned the camera on, and I was hoping I remember. But like, let's talk about nutrition.
So that's
often
definitely the food,
yes.
yeah.
So we have you eating like 5 meals a day,
Yes.
and you're eating more than your rate.
Yes.
But you actually look leaner, we feel better, we have better energy throughout the day. So we don't even really count calories. That's
I was going to say, I have no idea how many calories.
So we do volume control in the sense of we eat a certain amount, depending on how that feels, depending on the way we look, we eat more or less. And what's nice about that is if you stick to relatively healthy foods, you don't have to follow yourself around with a calculator all day, plugging crap into like all these apps. They're not bad to do if you want to have that adherence and that tracking benefit, but it's not necessary. So yeah. So if you weight train heavier and you focus on weight training instead of cardio, you get to eat more food. Okay. So we see all these new memes about like Taco Tuesday and all this crap.
Yeah.
So you can actually have some tacos
You can
on
actually
Tuesday.
do it.
Yes. So thank you for doing this
Thank
video.
you. It was fun.
Yes. And if you guys like this, I want to start doing these more often. So I'll make some posts and announce that stuff. But hopefully this video is helpful. And feel free to leave any comments in the comment section and let us know what you're thinking. We'll try to do more of these. So
Time
cool.
to eat.
Yes. Yay. Okay, cool. Good. Thank you. That was awesome.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.